Welcome to Movie Capped. A girl named Lee is mentally ill, and today she was discharged from the hospital. Her illness lies in the fact that she is always trying to harm herself in various ways, using sharp tools and other objects. Doctors can't help the girl with this problem. Returning to her parents' house, Lee begins to look for a suitable place to work. She can't do anything, and the only thing she's good at is typing fast on a typewriter. She finds a job as a secretary with a successful lawyer and makes an appointment for an interview by phone. Lee was very worried before this event, as she had never worked anywhere before. Arriving at this very office the next day, Lee notices a very strange situation around. Everyone ignores her, and no one pays attention to her. Entering the office, she meets a lawyer named Edward Gray, who begins to ask Lee about her personal life. He behaves unusually and asks strange questions, resembling a mentally ill person. Mr. Gray warns that the work will be as boring and dull as possible, and her task is to write and send letters to potential clients. Mr. Gray asks her to make her a cup of tea, but even with such a task, the girl cannot cope. All the following days are very hard for Lee. She literally does not have time to do all the things that she is assigned. It happens that, because of this work, she has a nervous breakdown. On a day off, she accidentally meets her former classmate. Nostalgia has come over them and friends are starting to talk about everything. But this is noticed by Mr. Gray, who happened to be next to them by chance. The next day, Gray begins to show aggressive behavior towards Lee. He begins to tell her off for grammatical mistakes that she made when writing letters. Due to constant stress, she only begins to make grammatical mistakes more often, and at one point Mr. Gray can't stand it. He invites Lee to his office and makes her bend over the table to read what she wrote. And unexpectedly for Lee, at the moment of reading, Gray slaps the girl. Lee stopped reading, but Mr. Gray insisted that she continue reading. After almost every word, the man spanked the girl. And at some point Lee began to enjoy what was happening. After the process is over, Mr. Gray asks Lee to continue working. The next day, Lee makes grammatical mistakes again. Gray shows aggression to Lee not out of malice. He does this in order to continue to have fun with her. Therefore, for a long time he spanked Lee in the office, forced her to walk with different objects on her hands, put a leash on her, and forced her to pretend to be a dog. In the evening, Lee reads an article in a magazine in which girls are taught to seduce men. She fell asleep with thoughts of Gray, and had dreams in which they made love. Lee has fallen in love with Mr. Gray, and the next day deliberately makes mistakes in the letter, so that he continues to punish her for her mistakes. She tries in every possible way to hint to him about her desires, but Mr. Gray is busy and can't give her time. Today, for some reason, he is very cold to her. Lee leaves work and arrives at the hospital, where her father is lying. Due to illness, he was put in a ward, and very saddened, Lee goes to visit Mr. Gray to find solace somewhere. When she comes to his doorstep, she tries to talk to him, but she can't clearly explain what happened to her. Mr. Gray did not understand at all what she wanted from him, and said goodbye to her. All the following days, Mr. Gray stopped doing this with her. He threw away all his red markers with which he pointed out Lee's mistakes. She kept making mistakes on purpose, but he didn't pay attention to it. Lee tries a bunch of ways to lure her boss back into the world of pleasures. But he continues to ignore her, as before, for some unknown reason. The girl decides to make herself feel good without Mr. Gray and starts slapping herself on the ass with a special toy, but she does not get the same pleasure that she got with him. But in fact, Mr. Gray has not led down to her at all. He is just trying to suppress all his secret desires. Abandoning all attempts to win over the boss, Lee tries to repeat the past experience with her former classmate, but he turned out to be too soft, and she did not like it at all. She's still thinking about her wonderful experience with Mr. Gray. The day after Lee put a huge worm in his letters, the boss can't stand it and invites her to his office. Lee bends over and obediently waits for his punishment. He asks her to take off her skirt and underwear. She obediently listens, but Gray does not do what he did with her before. This time he decided to do it alone. When the process was over, he asked her to fill out the paperwork and bring him a sandwich. After Lee left, Gray collects all the misspelled letters, all her photos, and silently burns them in the backyard. The next day, he invites her into his office and asks her all the same questions when they meet. which he asked when they met for the first time at the interview, after which he tells her that he can't go on like this anymore and fires her. He continues to blame her for all the mistakes she made at work, after which he asks her to leave, otherwise he will not be able to stop. Lee says she wants to get to know him better, but Gray replies that he hired her solely because of his strange fantasies. He asks her to leave work and not stay near him. Lee collects her things and leaves. On the street with things in her hands, she cries a lot. At home, she didn't tell anyone that she was fired. She pretended to go to work, but in fact just stood aside noticing how a new secretary came to work. Lee is trying to find a new guy with similar fantasies, but it didn't work out. Everyone was all too not normal. After a while, Lee marries her former classmate, but on the eve of the wedding, she runs away and comes to Mr. Gray's office. After that, she confesses her love to him. He says that he does not believe her, but she tells him again that she loves him. Gray forces her to put her hands on the table and asks her to wait for him until he returns. It's already dark outside and Lee is still sitting obediently with his hands folded on the table. Gray thought for a long time whether he should return to her. He checks how much she is following his order by calling the phone in Lee's office and picking up a phone with her teeth, thereby proving to Gray that she will obey 100%. Later, her fiancé comes into the office and asks what she is doing here. Mr. Gray is watching all this. The groom decides to move her, but Lee hits him and comes back with his hands on the table. She says she doesn't want to see him and asks him to leave. A few days pass, and she still sits at the table without food and water. A lot of people try to dissuade her and ask her to come home, but she doesn't listen to anyone. Gray understands that she is worthy, so she comes to her office, around which there are a lot of people and police. Going into his office, he gives Lee a drink. Takes her in his arms and leads her into the bedroom to finally do this thing. After a while they got married and continued to do dirty things. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe.